Okay, yeah, let's go on to Theresa. Theresa Amato was a leader a couple of years ago when we celebrated the first Women's Day, International Women's Day. I don't know, 5, 10 years ago. Time keeps passing very quickly. Theresa is a lawyer, and she worked on the campaign, political campaign of, well, she'll tell us. Theresa, welcome back to Casa Italia. I know you're not in town. Do you ever come to town? Next time you come to town, I'd like to see you in person, but here's your turn.
So, yes, Dominic, nice to see you, and would enjoy seeing you in person, and everybody in the room and on the Zoom. I've been listening to the wonderful stories, and I'm here in Washington, D.C. after a late flight back from Texas last night. So I've been here for a while now, 7 or so years, and I have been thinking about the need for a part 2 of the book. And I want to just share 2 major points. One, my uncle Hugo died. He was the father of 10 of my 17 first cousins. And this just happened in December. And it gave me cause to think about why, of all my first cousins, only my brother and I speak Italian, have gone to Italy regularly, and have carried on Italian-American traditions. And I have to say that's because of and I want to use a multi-syllable word here, the intentionality of my parents and my grandparents. And that has made all the difference in our lives and the lives of my children. So, and it was much more than just, here's a meatball sandwich, we're Italian, or, they taught us how to cook. They taught us to love and appreciate Italian culture. They took us to Italy. They made sure that when we both expressed wanting to go during different points in college to Italy to study, or in my case, be an intern with the State Department in Rome, they were supportive of it all. And they introduced us to all the members of our family in Italy. And I would ride around the bus, learning the bus lines of Rome on the weekends and at night with my mom's first cousin, one of many, Elsa, she would correct my Italian and I would correct her English. And it was an intensive experience. And my brother studied at the Domus Academy in Milan and then was offered a position there. So we had a very close relationship with Italy throughout our childhood and early adulthood. So I wrote my submission in the book is much more of an ode to my grandmother. The title of the piece is Nonna e Ninella, and I'm clearly Ninella. And I talk about the arc of my grandmother's experience on my life from when I was very small, attending Montessori, and through the end of her life when she lived with me several times during that period. And I would show up to my jobs with my grandmother and I said, oh, don't mind her. She's going to sit there and read the newspaper. I should say I'm a lawyer. And it was quite strange for people to have my grandmother sitting in the room. And I said, oh, she really would like to be here. And I decided that the best thing to do was start my own place and have her sit in the room. She was very proud that she could read English, and her deathbed wishes were still that she could write it. But because she read Fra Noi during many of these late night sessions while I read books, I would look at the old newspaper version of Frau Neu. And I noticed that there was a dearth of, what I would say, a dearth of information about women and children. So I don't know why, but one day I called up Paul, who's the editor for more than a quarter of a century, probably at this point, at Casa Italia in Frau Neu. And I said to Paul, I said, who I didn't know, but they had done a story on me. And I said, Paul, you know, I don't think there's enough about women and children in your tabloid here. And he was like, you know, people call me with complaints all the time, but that's about the only thing I would listen to. And he said, why don't you write, you know, a column, 600, 700 words. I was like, oh no, you've misunderstood completely. I'm not going to write anything. I have a day job practicing law. I said, somebody else should. And he said, well, how about you? Because you raised it. And I said, okay, I'll give it a try. So that was the beginning of 5 years of monthly columns on how to raise Italian-American children. A subject really I knew nothing about, except for I had 2 toddlers under 5, Isabella Rosina and Vittoria Teresina. And so this became Vita Bella Stories. And the funny thing about this is that wherever I would go to Italian events in Chicagoland, like, you know, some August Festa at the Shrine of Our Lady of Pompeii, people would come up and say, oh, I read the column about your grandmother, or I read the column about this and that. And grown men would cry. And my husband would look at me and laugh. And I said, well, I know more people have read that column than anything I've written in the law in 25 years or now 30 of being a lawyer. And so it was somewhat unusual for me because my entire, you know, professional existence was in the law, not as in writing about being an Italian American and or especially raising children, which I have to say I knew zero about when I started this. And I was just glad they made it to kindergarten. And and so I thought, okay, but because I did that, and I'm going to put those in a book at some point, but it goes back to the intentionality and what Judge Coco said about dilution. If we want to continue to share the Italian and the Italian American experience that I had both of, as that we have to make a point of sharing it, whether you're the person who thinks of yourself as the one to share. But I know a lot of second and third generation women that we should be telling their stories, and they should be in a book, and this book should not stop. Sign up to write, and of people who you may not know, but their stories need to be told, and if necessary, they need to tell them. Thank you.
Any questions or comments? Theresa, the Casa Italia would be pleased to publish your work, although we're not a big publishing house, but we know how to get things out on Amazon.
Thank you, Paul. Or Paul, Dominic. Thank you, Dominic. And I should.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I have 3 books in the works, and because I'm still raising those children, I have to say it hasn't been a high priority, but I'm getting there. And one's in college for the first time, so I'm very excited about that. And it's on my to-do list next, and I would really enjoy that. And I'm collecting other stories for a different kind of Italian-American contribution. So I look forward to it. And I definitely would like to participate in the next round. So
okay, the next Wednesday you're in Chicago, you're commanded to come to Casa Italia. We're not far from the airport, and if you're coming, we'll wait until you're available.
Thank you so much, Dominic.
Just give
And
us a
thanks
call.
to everyone there who worked on the book because it was a fatigue, I'm sure. Ciao.